What is up, CSP fam? This video podcast is dedicated to talking about principles and ideas that help you brand your business by using story-based marketing. Remember, your brand isn't what you say about your organization, it's what other people tell other people about your organization. And all this we try to do in a short amount of time. So with some time elapsed already, let's dive right in. So how does celebrating the wins in your organization help you in story branding? That's the question we are going to ask today's guest. I have with me today Pete Vandusen, Director of Operations at Waste Management, and Pete does a great job of posting on social media about his company and his employees and celebrating the wins they achieve. Celebrating the wins is so important to a staff culture and what employees say about your organization. To discuss this with us further, Pete has graciously accepted our invitation to be here. Thanks, Pete, for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thanks, John.
So yeah, Pete, just give us a little bit of your background and how did you get involved and become Director of Operations at Waste Management?
Yeah, it's actually kind of a funny story. I started with a company about 15 years ago, was working in a call center at the time, and my 90-day check-in with my vice president at the time, she asked me, she goes, "What do you love about this job?" And I said, "I know operations is where it's at. That's where everything is happening. So how can I get into operations?" So she invested in me over the next 5 years, showed me a few things and got me involved in projects. And next thing you knew, I was in operations, and then moved over to Minnesota about 10 years ago as the director. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
it's
great.
been fun.
Man, I gotta say, the thing I love about Waste Management so much is those big dumpster bags.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, those guys give me grace every time because there's a certain way you're supposed to put those up, and every time, no matter how hard I try, they just never stay upright. But they still come and pick them up for me.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Appreciate you guys over there and what you do. I mean, whoever came up with, you guys must sell a lot of those.
We do. The Minneapolis market is actually one of the top, if not the top market in the U.S. for those bags.
Wow. I mean,
yep.
Is anybody else doing them?
No.
I mean, it's so much cheaper than getting a dumpster.
Right.
So something that's so apparent when looking at your social media accounts and what you post online, it is just so obvious that you are so good at celebrating your employees and celebrating what they do, and not even just what they do, but who they are and kind of how they help the company. Can you just kind of give us a brief overview of like, what's your whole philosophy behind celebrating those wins?
Yeah, well, it's really a couple parts. I mean, the company, Waste Management as a company, is a people-first company. And that starts with our CEO, Jim Fish, all the way through the organization. And it's not something that we just say. It's not just marketing. It's actually who we are and what we do. So I'll just give you a quick example. In the transportation business, safety is extremely important. And you will hear a lot about measuring accidents or eliminating safety incidents. And some companies do that because, it's expensive to have an accident, or you have to report those scores. But Waste Management does it because we care about the people going home at the end of the day. So I look at each one of those individuals. They're a father or mother, a son, sister to somebody, and I want them to go home. And that's really just kind of the focus of why we have a safety culture. It's not because safety is the right thing to do, but it's because we have a people culture.
Right.
And it just personally, for me as a Christian, the concept of being a servant leader really resonates with me. So it's not about me, but it's about the individuals that work for me.
Right.
They're the ones doing the hard work because those guys have to work really, really hard. And, they really deserve the credit for what we do.
Right. It's interesting to hear you say that, they're somebody's sister, mother, brother or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it really kind of shows that like your company really doesn't look at people for what they can do for your company,
Yeah.
but you look at them because they have value in who they already are.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think a lot of companies want that. A lot of companies want to get there and do and have that type of culture. And in fact, I've been a part of organizations before that have like said those things, right? Like we
Yep.
care about you, and
Yep.
but you said it from the CEO top down. This is our organization caring about people.
Yeah.
How do you get it from being, I don't want to say lip service, but like, because there could be real desire behind, we want to care about people, to
Yep.
actually having a culture that does care about people?
Yeah. That's a great question. I mean, it has to start with the leadership, and then it follows through with the decisions that we make. So I'll give you another example of the company when COVID first hit. We saw our volumes go way down, right? And it would have been very easy to tell our employees that we're going to downsize, right? Downsize routes, shrink up our service, and lay a bunch of people off, because that's really what the service level required.
Right.
But again, those individuals have families that need to put food on the table, and college, kids in college. And we just didn't feel good about that. So our CEO actually got on the phone with other industry leaders and said, look, we are going to guarantee 40 hours a week for all of our employees, no matter how bad this thing gets. Yeah. And so we worked through that and figured out how to keep people busy and keep them employed throughout that pandemic. And I'm thankful for that.
Yeah.
That's we didn't come back to them and ask them to pay more on their insurance or to pay cuts or anything along that line. We invested back into the people in the organization. So that's one really big, macro level type thing that our company has done. But even just on a local level, when I walk into one of the districts that reports to me, the lead, I know not only the leader, but I know their spouse. I know and have met some of their kids.
Yeah.
I know where they've been on vacation, and it's about investing not just financially into people, but investing emotionally into them as well.
Right. Why do you suppose it is that it almost seems like that other companies kind of forget that, I mean, these are people.
Yeah.
Right? Not just cogs, not just profit turning machines.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, why do we forget that so much?
Yeah, I don't know why we forget that. We just lose sight of what's really important sometimes. And I think that's the lens that my company and myself, we look through that lens of people in the decisions that we make, whether it's for our customers, for our employees. How is this going to impact the person first? You can still make a lot of money. You can still do a great business. In fact, I would say you probably do better business when you treat your employees the right way.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Like your business actually ends up doing better because you're valuing people. And when people feel valued, they're actually going to put more time and effort into what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because they feel valued.
Yeah.
They're
invested.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yep. That's great. Thanks for sharing, Pete. So how does celebrating your employees kind of lift the staff morale around the office?
Well, I mean, at the heart of us, we all want to be recognized for what we do. Right. Right. In some small way. We crave that from our parents as kids. And, even as adults, we want to feel like what we're doing matters every day, even on a small scale. And using social media to celebrate that just seems, it doesn't cost me anything. Sure. A little bit of time, and I enjoy doing it. And the satisfaction I get on people's faces when they recognize that they're on my social media feed. Like there's been a couple times where I've gone out and ridden with a driver, take a picture of the two of us in his truck, and I've been on the back slinging compost all day or something like that, and hot and sweaty and nasty, dirty, and just I hear kind of in the background through the circles that he like showed that to his friends or showed that to his wife that, hey, the boss was with me today, and get all excited about that. So it's just fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome too, that you as a leader, I mean, you're obviously, if they're talking about it and they're saying, hey, the boss was with me today, I mean, you're obviously well loved and well respected. And
hope so.
I just, right, that's the hope. But it's just awesome to hear that you actually get your hands dirty and go, and like you said, like slinging compost or riding along with them. Because I think that speaks volume to your employees as well. Like the boss is willing to get his hands dirty with me.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't do it all the time, but it is fun to go do.
Right. Yeah. Right. That's awesome. So do you think staff morale is really all that important for an organization? I mean, really, if I was to play the devil's advocate a little bit, I mean, really, why does staff morale really matter in an organization such as yours?
Yeah.
I mean, can't you accomplish what you accomplish without having a good staff morale?
Absolutely not. So people have choices, right? We all have choices. We're not the only waste and recycling company in the country.
Sure.
And just a little bit about our organization, our industry, we rely heavily on CDL licensed drivers. And there's 70,000 less of them on the road since COVID began. Yes. And that's just retirements and aging workforce, but it's also a lot of the workforce coming through school, right? They're not necessarily seeking out those types of jobs. And so the competitive market for those resources and those people are very high. But I would say the other thing, just like even in my situation, I don't leave because there aren't other jobs or other opportunities. I don't leave because I love the company and I'm engaged with the person that I report to. And we talk a lot about that with my direct team, that people don't leave typically because of wages. They don't typically leave because of benefits, but they will leave a bad boss, and they will leave bad leadership or bad culture. And doesn't matter what the pay is. And you could think through a number of examples or number of companies that have been in the news where the culture is just toxic, and they're great paying jobs, but nobody, things are stressful enough right now. Why would you want to submit yourself to that for 9, 10, 12 hours a day?
So I think a lot of business owners do have empathy for their employees and do care for them. I think a lot of us just don't know how to celebrate them well. So can you give us some insight on how business owners can be better at celebrating their employees?
Yeah. The first thing that most people think about, especially new managers, when they talk about celebrating employees is, well, we do celebrate employees. We recognize birthdays and we recognize anniversaries, right? And you come to mind like the multitude of movies with, office birthday cake or whatever. So, but, celebrating employees doesn't have to cost you money. It really doesn't have to cost you a lot of time. You just start with a thank you. But I would say be specific, not just, hey, thanks, you did a nice job, but why was that a nice job?
Right.
How did it impact the business or a customer? Be specific about it. I said it before, get to know your employees. What are their hobbies? What did they do over the weekend? What's their spouse's name? What do they like to do? And just understand them as a person. And seeing them as a person changes your communication, changes the way you approach them. And, that just makes a huge difference. Certainly, if you've got opportunities financially to, look at compensation and all of those other attributes to a job or a career, those are kind of the like gatekeepers to get you into the game. But once you've done those things, creating that environment, creating that culture of people first it takes effort on the leader's part, but doesn't cost you a lot of money.
Right. Yeah, we recently did a podcast with Ben Utek, and one of the things that he brought up is culture happens either by design or default.
Yeah.
And so
he's absolutely right.
His whole thing is culture is the leader's choice.
Yeah.
And so we have an opportunity as business owners, as leaders in organizations, to actually be able to design a culture that does put people first, that does value them. Yeah. And when we do that, employees are going to be not only feel valued, but what they say about your organization is going to be good things and not things that can cause harm or people to leave or to quit. It won't be a toxic atmosphere.
Right. A great, there's a couple great examples of that in my organization. I actually just did one this morning. So when you are leading leaders like I do, getting their input on how to run the business is vitally important. If as a director, if I'm just saying this is what we're going to do, because instead of inviting them into problem solving, putting together solutions, we just put our 2022 capital plan together for buying new trucks, right? We've got, we run, I run 800-900 trucks on the road every day. And so out of those 800-900 trucks, we get to replace a small percentage of them every year. Of course, everybody wants to run a brand new truck, but where do we put those trucks? And so instead of me saying, hey, this is where we're going to put the trucks, it's inviting those leaders in to work together as a team, but it creates that culture of ownership, and I've got input, and my boss values my opinion. And those are the small things. It's not even like, hey, thanks, John, for doing a great job. It's, John, I want your input on this problem that we have. Yeah. And it may directly or indirectly impact you. Right. But you getting the chance to speak into something is huge.
Yeah. So what you're saying is leadership isn't necessarily telling people what to do.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah.
Leadership is asking the right questions of people to lead them to make good choices.
Yeah. 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 I look at my job and say, I'm not really making a lot of decisions or taking a lot, like doing a lot of things. I'm developing other leaders to make good decisions, to run the business. And how do I continue to keep developing you so that you grow and are satisfied in your role and you make better and better decisions? And then how do I help you do that for everybody that works for you too?
Right. Right. So how does caring for each of your employees and kind of celebrating their successes along the way affect what those employees say about your company?
Oh, what they say, again, is the best thing I can do is give you an example. Yeah. So I mentioned the shortage of drivers, right? And we went back to our drivers and said, look, you guys are the best source. You know other drivers, right? To bring them on board. And so I'd rather, give you a bonus for bringing in a new driver than giving that other person that I don't know a bonus, like a sign-on bonus. And so we said, look, we're gonna give you guys bonuses for referring other drivers. Guess what? They'd never do that. Yeah. If the culture was bad. Sure. Right? Because why would they want to tell a friend, stick their neck out on the line to come work somewhere where it's just bad? Right. So that's been a huge success. It's been one of the best places to find new and great talent. And The best thing about it is those people are invested from day one, because it's like, hey, John, come work for Waste Management. It's a great company, and I know you, and we get to work together.
Right.
And so that's a great example of how that impacts our employees.
That's awesome. All right, I'm done. I'm going to go work for Pete now. So thank you so much, Pete.
Yeah, you're welcome.
For being here today. And that is story branding. It is what others say about your organization, not what you say it is. So if you ever want to change the way others talk about your brand, start by asking yourself, how does celebrating my employees affect what people say about my organization? And that's all the time we have for today. Thanks, Pete, so much for being here and being on our podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel and like us on social media. I'm John Oney, and we'll see you next time.